All right, so I'm going to briefly speak about voting uncommitted in the Democratic primary. This is sweeping the country in the Democratic primary. We're having margins of 10%, 20% of Biden voters withholding their votes, saying they are uncommitted to voting for Joe Biden in the primary and this November in the general election. Now, you may say to yourself, just on its face, oh, 10%? Oh, 15%? Oh, 20%? So what? Joe Biden's going to win the primary, and I believe Joe Biden's going to win the election in November. What's the big deal with these small holdouts when Biden is winning 70% of the vote, 80% of the vote, 90% of the vote, which is valid, which is true? The situation is, in a country where most elections are won 51% to 49%, when you're losing 10% of your voter base, 20% of your voter base, those impacts are real. Okay. So when you look at it on its face in the primary, it really doesn't look like much. But then when you drill down and see how divided this country is, to the tune of mostly 51%, 49% election outcomes, and even closer than that, where tens of thousands of votes mean swinging one state or the other, if these people who are holding out in these swing states, that's going to be damage to Joe Biden this coming November. So they are taking it seriously. And VP Harris has come out and said, we're doing a 6-week temporary ceasefire. Okay, that's not what I want to hear. Okay, that's not what people voting uncommitted want to hear. They want to hear a permanent ceasefire and a completely different foreign policy when it comes to Gaza. Okay. So those are steps in the right direction from the Biden administration, but it's got to go further. It's got to go deeper. You got to go stronger than what you're doing here. So this video is about, I don't want you to undermine or just blow off these seemingly small margins in the primary. Yesterday was Super Tuesday, and in Minnesota, there was over 40,000 voted uncommitted. That was like 20% of the vote. These chunks will add up to disaster if those votes are withheld from Joe Biden this November. I'm in Pennsylvania. I plan on voting uncommitted next month. And I encourage everybody to, until this nightmare that Joe Biden has enabled ends. Because this is bigger than politics. This is about humanity. This is bigger than political outcomes. This is a failure of our most basic morality and humanity that we have within our very being. It transcends politics. And if there isn't a complete 360 on this nightmare genocide in Gaza, you can bet on it. Joe Biden will sink in November. Unless he changes course. See, Joe Biden has been a dedicated Zionist for over 30 years. He believes that the Israeli state is justified. And I want Jews to be safe too. Don't get me wrong here. I want the Jewish people to be safe and have their own territory and land and live in a world of peace and inclusion. That includes the Jews. But this, what they're doing over there, has completely destabilized the Jews, their personhood, their safety. It has completely uprooted any safety they had before October 7th. So there has to be complete 360 on this god-awful foreign policy that Joe Biden has enabled. He's got to stop bypassing Congress. When Congress says we're not sending more weapons, he's vetoing those bills and sending it anyways. That's insane. Okay? That has to stop. There has to be a ceasefire. There has to be a reversal. These primaries matter. And the establishment better be taking them seriously. Because once again, when most elections are 51-49, if you're shaving off tens of thousands of votes here and 100,000 votes there, it's going to impact. It's going to be a big impact. Joe Biden won the 2020 election basically with 3 swing states and 40,000 votes. You see what I'm talking about? We want that situation again, and we have to be up against the Electoral College. The deck is already stacked against Democrats this November, and Joe Biden is adding stacks. It has to end before it's too late. Because he's shedding support. He'll always have his liberal base, but when it comes to independents, when it comes to progressives, when it comes to Arab Americans, when it comes to even Jewish Americans, nobody in those groups and abroad can support genocide. That's what's crazy about this whole thing. The lesser of the two evils is literally named Genocide Joe. I couldn't come up with a worst case scenario if I tried. That's how bad our reality is. The lesser of two evils is literally named Genocide Joe. Okay? I couldn't even dream up something that awful. And we're living that in real time. Oh my God. We're in trouble, guys. We're in trouble. The specter of America becoming a fully unbridled Christo-fascist state is hanging in the balance. It's never been more real than it is right now. They have the Supreme Court for the next 30, 40 years. And if Trump gets back in there, what do you think is going to happen to democracy? Or what's left of it in the United States of America? It ain't going to be around. It just isn't. And maybe that's the real trajectory. Maybe it's been that way this whole time, and we've been fighting it this whole time, and that's America's destiny. Christo-fascist theocracy. I hope not. I'm here to say no to that. But the people who should be helping us along are not doing what they need to do to win this in November. So do not sell out your humanity for politics. Hold strong, vote uncommitted, and I will too. Let me know your comments down below here. I hope you're having a lovely day.